afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever it is, wherever you find yourself. This is the Power Series with yours truly, Samuel joining. Yes, I know I get really crazy when I start my show with some energy. I get the guest host laughing and all that. But yes, it's another Sunday, and as you know it's Power Series, the show that brings you the gurus, the gods, you name it, the best creme de la creme, best in the game on the Power platform right here on this show. And today we have awesome MVP on the show. He's going to show us some cool stuff for our citizen administrators. However, he has some cool things under his sleeves. I was just privileged to look at his slides before the show and I saw some cool stuff. So I'll probably ask him about that. But as you know it, before we get started, let me go play the show's montage. Then we will be right back. Stay with me. Awesome. We are back. We're back. Now, before I introduce our guest, as you always know it, I try to put out what's happening in the space of tech, some information that's going on before we get started. But today, I want to first of all say today is the birthday of one of my very good friends, Mr. Charles Mate, all the way um in Milwaukee, Oregon, US of A. Hey man, happy birthday. You're more than a black brother, have fun. We still have some party areas to do. We're just praying for COVID to go off, and we're going to chill and have an awesome event. Well, with that out of the way, the next thing I want to talk about as we're going into a new month is for all our Azure friends. Is Let me switch here so you can see this. We have the Azure Community Day starting from June 3rd. This is the lineup. If you can go to azureday.community. Let me actually paste that in the chat. And we have Mariano Gomez. Yo, representing. Yes, Mariano is on show. Mariano, welcome. The gods have gathered. Well, so this is the schedule for Azure Day, the Azure Community Day. Make sure to check this out. Sign up, and then it's going to be awesome fun. Well, with this out of the way, as we do it all the time, I am now going always. Let me get my drum roll. Drum roll. You can hear that. And a round of applause. Let's welcome our guest for today, Daniel Christian. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's an honor to have you. You are one of the gods of the power plant, Reverend gods.
I don't know if I'm a god, but I'll try. You set up the bar way too high, man.
Oh no, but trust me, it's always fun when we have you guys on the show. And sometimes you might think, I have to do stuff that is way complicated. But no, but the little things. Don't forget that we're trying to push, the less code, more power. So even the slightest, is very high. So hey, thanks for showing up and sharing your, nuggets of wisdom.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and start my slide deck, and I'll kind of walk you through some of the fun things we're gonna do today.
Awesome.
Let's do some screen sharing, and here we go.
And let's flip this up.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Okay. So, just to set the expectation, um, one of the things that I do is, I am a huge fan of Citizen Developer, me being one of them. If you know, I was one of the first five MVPs for the Power kind of Power platform in general. There was two of us in US, there was one in Europe, and then there was two in Sydney, Australia, or in Australia over there. So I've seen the Power Apps grow, for a while. Now, what I see is there's a lot of growth and expansion of the whole citizen developers. But what I'm not seeing too much of is the concept of administrators, because we need those people to administer the Power Platform kind of tenant, for lack of a better term. And but we need fresh new administrators as well. Because citizen developers, that's the concept. These are fresh developers. They don't come from a old school developer type of thought process. And so we need that same mindset for the administrators as well. They need to be fresh administrators, and so that what they can do is they can set all the settings from an admin standpoint, and then just step back and let the developers, the citizen developers, just get in there and be innovative and go ahead and build their stuff. So we need that another new generation of administrators, and that's why I call it, this is the rise of the citizen administrators. And this whole section that I'm going to walk through is basically what are the steps that you need to take to be a successful citizen administrator. And I'll talk both from a different standpoints, from a technical standpoint, from a philosophical standpoint, from building relationship standpoint. I'm going to cover this as a very holistic approach of what this citizen administrator is. So yes, it's got a mixed recipe of everything from building relationships, from the technical standpoint to how you can grow in this field. So I'll jump more on that. A little bit about me is who I am and what do I do. I come from an infrastructure background, and this is something that people sometimes don't understand because they see all my blogs and see all my work. It's like, oh, he's a developer, and I says, no, I'm actually not. And my first job, yeah, I know, my first job, which was like the really big infrastructure thing, is I used to work 3 stories underground, racking and
Wow.
stacking servers. That's all I did. I
Wow.
racked and stacked servers, 3 stories underground. I lived in those tornadoes, states over there. I lived in Kansas, and racking and stacking of servers. And because there was tornadoes over there, all this the servers were 3 stories underground, and that's when I lived and I worked over
Wow.
there, racking and stacking servers. Like I would stay there 8, sometimes 9 hours a day. Anywhere from 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It was cold. But what happened is after that, there was an opening coming up for system administrators to manage file servers. So I used to do
Mm.
file servers. I finally got that opportunity to manage file servers. Basically just handling files, folders. Then I went ahead and became from right there on. I joined into the SharePoint world, and then just things just took off from there. I did a lot of InfoPad designer, building forms, and
Mm.
then
Yeah.
flows using Um, SharePoint Designer, and then when that was getting deprecated, that's how I got into the Power Platform world. Now, the key thing over here is I am not a developer, so if someone like me can do it,
Uh,
definitely someone like you can also do it. That's the key call out. And like I was saying, since I was I was Infopad designer and SharePoint designer was getting deprecated. I adopted the Power Platform in its initial, even in the preview phases. So that's why I've been working with Power Apps, and that's why if you notice that since I've been so new, I initially put in the original spelling over there as well because
yeah.
I've worked with Power Apps since that day.
Yeah.
And so I've been one of the early adopters. I had the pleasure of working with the product groups from an early stages, gave them so much feedback. And these guys are amazing, those product groups, because they will just consume all the
Yeah.
information you give them. Some of things can be done fast, some of things have to be done on a definite timeline, but they are hungry for that information, and they will take it all in, and then they assess to see what's the best line. Other thing that I do is I look at the entire Power Platform, and that's something I've been telling similar people as well. Like Samuel, yours is a great example, right? You touch so many things. You touch
Yeah.
Azure services, you touch Power Apps, you touch Power Automate. So that's what I encourage people is that sure, if you just like the Canvas model driven apps or just Flow, still look at it from a holistic approach. Look at the entire Power Platform because it's the 4 members of the family now. They kind of are the perfect pieces of the puzzle, and together they give you really good solutions. Because if you just silo it down to each of them, you might not benefit from the entire family area. So kind of keep that in mind because that's my approach and has served me well. And then my passion has always been in the artificial intelligence and machine learning. And as you all know, that's kind of plugged into everywhere,
Everywhere. Yep.
from Excel spreadsheet to
Yep.
Microsoft Word. It's all plugged in everywhere. So I think we all, not just in the Power Platform, anybody who's even slightly touching IT
Yep.
technology needs to be familiar with AI. And we're not talking about Terminator and robotics. It's simple things like how can I automate it? How can I do some machine learning? How can it go ahead and do cognitive services and things like that? That's basically
Yeah.
where I start. Other thing I do is I blog a lot. When I was growing up in the tech world, I referenced so many people's and their blogs, and so I
Mm.
just feel that it is my turn to return that favor back to the
Favor. Yeah.
community. And so if you go to YouTube, if you just search for Daniel Christian Power Apps, you will just see my my channel over there, and go ahead and subscribe to it. Subscribing is win-win situation because I usually post anywhere from 2 to 3 videos a month. Anytime a
Mm-hmm.
video comes up, you'll be able to see it over there. And then you can always follow me on Twitter because that's my Twitter handle over there. So as always, when you follow and you see my video, always like, comment,
Comment and share.
subscribe. Yeah,
Very necessary.
exactly. It helps. Like I said, it's a win-win situation. Another thing I do is I'm the kind of guy who works hard, but I play hard as well. So I do musical holiday lights as a hobby.
Yeah.
Um, I usually so I spend pretty much since March of every year. March I'll start planning what my lights are, and that
Yeah.
video there's actually a video of
Mm.
my home. I'll have about anywhere from 45 to 50 minute show. I have a radio that broadcasts the radio, and then it is not uncommon for anywhere 8 to 10 cars parked outside my house. They will tune into my radio
Really?
station, and
Oh.
they are just enjoying the show. I do a combination of contemporary Christian, traditional Christian. I'll do
Oh.
lots of soundtracks, and I do music. Have to do the Star Wars soundtrack over there.
Yeah.
And anytime, but now obviously with COVID-19, I can't do that. But previously, I would my two boys and me we would just put on our Santa hats and we would go out and give candy canes and I'm talking to people and they're asking me all these questions and everything. And this is all free. I mean,
Yeah.
we do take some donations if people show up over there, but this is all free. And yeah, it's fun. That's a hobby I do over there. All right,
Yeah.
so let's jump into our topic today. And then, like I said, um, for the Power Platform, citizen developers, we need innovative administrators. And this innovative administrators is this new terminology I'm coming in, so I'm going to throw it out over there. You guys, tell me what you think, and if you're interested in that, in this video channel, go ahead and put in some comments over there and say, tell me what you think about this innovative administrators, because I mean, like I explained to you, for
Daniel,
citizen
before
developers.
sorry Daniel to cut you before you going. Mariano says that I aspire to be like Daniel when I grow up. So I'm just passing that.
Oh man, if Mariano said that, man, that was deep. That was so deep. It is yeah, I know. Like I look up to him. So if he says that to me, my gosh. All right. So innovative administrators is this new term I'm coming up with. I'm still getting some feelers on that. Some and in this video channel, go ahead and subscribe. In Samuel's video channel, subscribe and definitely put some comments. Tell us what you think about this
Yeah.
innovative administrators
Yeah.
is. So let's go to the basics. What does it take to be an innovative administrator? And these are some of the items that I've put back based on a lot of experiences and just based on observations, talking to people from different sides of the story, like from the manager's side to the citizen administrator's side to all of these people from in different positions of technology. So I've come up with these very important steps, if lack of a better term, of what does it take to be an innovative administrator. First is let's from a technical standpoint. If you're going to be an innovative administrator, you must have the Power Platform admin role in Office 365. Now, I cannot tell you how many times I get on mentoring calls with people, or I meet them at my workshops or whatever, and I'll tell them that hey, to do that, you need to have a Power Platform admin role. They'll say, oh yeah, I have that. See, I can just go into Power Apps over there. I can go in and click on the admin, and I have access to it. I said, okay, let's go look at it. I mean, they click on it. 9 out of 10 times, they will only see one environment over there. And most of the time, it might just be the default environment, or they might just see their environment. And that's the first, light bulb moment. It's like, okay, you only see one environment. I am willing to bet on this, maybe lunch or dinner, that you don't have the Power Admin role because if this is a production tenant, it is a very high chance that you're going to have at least 3 environments, maybe more. You will definitely have some sandboxes and things like that. And if you're a Power Platform admin role, you're probably going to see all of that. And then some people are themselves like the admin over there, might like Azure admins or the Office 365 admins. Well, they themselves, Office 365 admins, do see it, but they say, oh, let me just reach out to my admin, and they'll reach them out, and then next day or something, I'll get an email or whatever. They say, oh man, you are so right. I didn't even know I was not an admin.
Yeah.
So this is the key thing. That's why I put it on the top of the list. Is
Yeah.
if you want for us to be a successful administrator, you gotta have the Power Platform admin role. Now, The other thing was either when you take on that admin role level, I preferably you were or are a citizen developer. Now I say this for a
Mm-hmm.
reason, is because somebody who's going to administer a Power Platform needs to understand what are the needs a citizen developer is going to need. They are going to need connectors of different types. They are going to need access to, say, if you put them into a environment, they are going to need access to create and test apps over there. They will need this level of kind of flexibility, and you as a just fresh admin are not going to think that way. And therefore, even if you're not interested in being a Power Platform a citizen developer, I highly recommend that you at least do the app in a day, a single app in a day. Just go through it. It's usually anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, depending on who's running that, or it's a self-paced. You could go faster too. But just get the experience that, hey, in an app in the day, this is what it takes to build an app. Oh, and an app needs data connectors. So these are how connectors I'm going to get. All these rules that you apply, which we will talk about, the policy rules. That is how it affects the connectors. I highly recommend that an existing developer, citizen developer, be that admin. And if you're not interested, do that app in the day, because then you will really understand what all is involved when it comes to the settings over there. Understand application lifecycle management, the ALM. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about the ALM which comes along with Power Apps. Definitely, I'm gonna that is an important thing. But I'm talking about the holistic way. I mean, when you are building a app, or you or your line of business, or if you're a bigger company in the enterprise over there, understand what is the application lifecycle of this app, like from the
That's
time it has been built to the time that it was tested to the time it goes production. What is that app all about? And the key things is that, and I've seen this example, especially for mid-sized to large companies, is that a line of business, or a department built this one app, and that app was fantastic, and it got some people's attention, and then that app just took off and said, okay, this is going to be like the center app for the enterprise. Now everybody in the enterprise for this process is going to use that app.
yeah.
That's a good time to go ahead and analyze that app to see, is it ready for that level? What is its data source? Maybe you need to change the data source for something which is a bit more robust over there, and how that works over there. And then after some time, you want to, using some of the tools that I'm going to show you, you want to see, which are the high hitting screens, which are not the high hitting screens. And then you can tweak your app to get the most usage out of it. And then maybe, just maybe, a request for another app comes out, and that app, the new app, could actually be a replacement of two other apps you've already built,
Apps.
or three
Right.
other apps. So the application lifecycle management is not just the technical piece. It is a bit bigger than that. It's to understand, because I do believe that for every tech, and not just me, technology itself, history has shown us is there's always a beginning, middle, and an end, a sunrise and a sunset of any application. We've seen that in Microsoft world itself, and that can happen to your app as well. Keep monitoring it and understand the ALM process for that. Um, be aware of latest announcements, and there's tons of places to do that, but it is your responsibility that you need to be aware of these latest announcements over there. Great places is for the Power Platform is go to the communities. The
Yeah.
Power Platform has got so many communities over there. Go ahead and join them. Follow key people on social media. They are constantly going ahead and pinging, and key people could be not people, but could be the platforms, like Power Apps as a Twitter handle, Power Automate has a Twitter handle, Power BI, Power Virtual Agents. Follow those on social media over there. On their websites itself, when you go to the community for Power Apps, Power Automate, there's a blog section over there, and you can do what's called as an RSS feed. So anytime a new blog comes, you get an alert for that.
Alert for it.
It
Yeah.
will, yeah, it will be your responsibility to be up to date on these announcements, because that announcement um, is kind of like a double-edged sword sometimes. It will be great for you, the end users, but you as an admin mainly have to prep your environment for that. Or sometimes an announcement comes up which the end users will like, I don't even care about this. But you as an admin, it's like, oh, this is a good one. I need to know this.
Yeah.
And I'll show you an example of that too, which is going to come up over here. So it is going to be your example over there. And then finally, relationships is very important. So maintain healthy relationships with your Azure admins and Dynamics 365 admins, because all said and done, even though you're a Power Platform admins, these people with their admin level also has the same access level to your Power Platform environment as you do. Also, there are things which the Azure admins, you will need their help. For example, there are some services I'm going to show you that you will need the Azure admins to either
Admins, yeah.
give you access to that. And I understand there's ticketing processes and everything that you've got to go through, but building healthy relationships with these people is very important for a growth in just any company and your own your own career. So these are kind of the key things over here, and I like to start off with this way because it's this session and this concept is more than just technical. It is also a very holistic approach of building friends and understanding what all is incorporated to be a successful innovative administrator. So in this session, I'm going to go ahead and cover all these things. Some of them I'll go through a little faster, some of them I'll go through a little slower. The one thing I like to call out is that 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, this whole list might change. That's because of how the technology works, or because of how important some things might be based on some of the feedback that I'm getting. So today, I'm definitely putting DLP on the top of the list, and policies and protection will be always on the top of the list. But then tomorrow, you might see something else come up in this number two, and so on and so forth. So these are the main ones that I'll be covering over here. And then I kind of, again, the session names might be the same, but the concept is always evolving over here. So now that you know this, let's now jump into this and kind of dive into some of these important ones. All right.
Yeah.
So first one, DLP. DLP, data loss protection. Now, when it comes to DLP, I personally use the KISS method. And I also, when it comes to setting up these policies, I do the Microsoft versus non-Microsoft. Now, I don't know, some of you have already stopped at point number one, is what is this KISS method? And this is what KISS stands for, is keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
It is a very simple concept which has been there for a while, and I'll show you what that KISS method is. Also, there is now a new feature that has come out. It is because before you could only do it as business and non-business grouping for DLP. But the third one came out as the new feature to block data connections over there. That was something that I had asked over a year and a half ago. I said, we need this because there was, and I know, Samuel, you probably even noticed that as well, because that's that one gap which was there, is that all I could do was group it, which means if somehow that group formula didn't work, people could do some really dangerous things. And we voiced this out even through the community, through the MVPs area. And like I said, these product groups, peoples, and they listen and they are hungry. They just absorb all this information. One thing that I want to defend with the product groups is that they might not do something for you immediately, is because they already have a timeline set up. Nonetheless, this is a great example. Is I've told about this for about a year and a half now. They took that in. They added it to their planning, and then finally it came out over here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this whole process over here. Okay, so let's jump in and look at some DLP. So now actually come back to that. So I'm going to go in now to a tenant. Let me go to a test one over here. All right, log into my Power Apps over there. And you can do this from either way, because it's not just a power. The session is not just Power Apps. It is a Power Platform type of a session, because all of these information that I'm providing for DLPs and the administrations applies to the Power Platform over there, which is a Power Apps, Power Automate, and then PVA as well, Power Virtual Agents over there. So the DLP, right? Now, keep in mind, I've already got the Power Platform admin role. Otherwise, I can't do any of this. So I come in, let me just close that, and I'll walk you through some basic steps. Right? This is the page that you walk into. And I'm going to come to the top right. I go to the gear, which is also settings. And over there, I click on Admin Center. Okay, so when you click on Admin Center, this is the first place, Samuel, I was talking about, is that I come in and people say, oh, yeah, I have admin level roles. See, I came in over here. And I can click on the admin. I was like, you only see one. Now, there's a very good chance that you might have one, but that could be just in this type of demo. Like, which, as you can see, this is one of my demo tenants. A production one will usually have something like this. You will have at least a few. Some of them will be productions. Some developers. A lot of sandboxes will show up over here. This is always your first sign that, I'm pretty confident he or she has that admin role. This is always a red flag for me. But this is my dev tenant, so that's what that's why it's not that much of a problem. All right, so I'll make it a little bigger. All right, so I came over here and I'm going to go to data policies. Now, the data policies is in preview, doesn't mean that it can go away or is testing. This is very much in production, but it is something that just the new change came out over here. All right, so we come over here and I'm going to create a new policy. And by the way, this is another scary thing. I mean, Samuel, I don't know if you've seen this, but I have seen
Yeah,
companies which
I
have,
have.
yeah, I mean, these guys, the companies may have up to 10, 15 production apps. And I mean, they are loving it. The Power Platform has just grown and everything. And I'll have discussions when usually they ping me for some Power App type of a question or something. And I look at that. And if you have some extra time, I say, hey, let's take a look at your DLP. Let's see how it's set up. And then I
Yeah,
look away, come in over here, and it's empty.
and
There's
it's
nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. So I said, literally, it will take you all of
Mhm.
15 minutes. If you're a bigger company, you might have to involve some people, or you might have to, research to see how your apps and everything are working, what are the policies. But all said and done, it literally takes all of 15 minutes, if not less. And this is basically what you do. You come in, you create a new policy, and I usually give the policy name, whatever works for you, but always add the timestamp. So I'm going to say, um, let's just put in KISS, keep it simple,
Oh yeah.
KISS policy. And then I always put in, like, right now my time is 4:27, so I do a 4:27 p.m. and then I'll put in date, and so that way I kind of immediately know that this policy was done at that time and at that day. So whatever it is, either put that as a timestamp, as a postfix or a prefix, kind of put that in over there, so it really helps you understand. So I go to the next over here, and now this is completely new, because what has happened is before it actually even looked new. You just went ahead and did some dragging and dropping. So this is completely new. And now this is what sometimes what confuses people is, okay, wait, do I just drag and drop? What does this mean? Because what it means is that by default, all the 348 connectors right now fall in non-business. Now this has been there since the inception, all right? Since the inception of DLP, everything by default falls in non-business. Now, it is a very important tidbit I'm going to give you over here. If your company makes custom connectors, then anytime a custom connector is made, it's published, it will fall in the non-business category as well. And I know sometimes the lack of this information can be a problem, because for a solution that a company has made, they've actually had to build a custom connector, and they go ahead and apply the custom connector to their app or flow or whatever,
Okay.
and it doesn't work. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, there's a message that comes up that this is going to be blocked, but if you ignore that message, this is what happens: is custom connectors will fall in the non-business one. So it's kind of important that you know that. So a little tidbit, these surprise tidbits that I throw across my entire sessions. This is one important tidbit. So what you want to do is you come over here, and this is where you use that Microsoft versus non-Microsoft concept. So important things you got to have, like Office 365 users, Office 365 groups, Power Apps, admin tools over there, Flow admin tools over there. There's some Power BI stuff over here. All of these things, and they're very easy because you just come and search. So I'll just do a Power App stuff, and there I need these three. I'm going to need it. So when you come over here, what you want to do is, it says some of these can already be blocked. You select them, and see, this is a great example, because it's telling me some of these just cannot be blocked, which means this is another example of how important this is. So I go ahead and select them, and I says move to business, and then it tells you right there which ones are those moves. So let's just do the same thing for Power Automate. Selected them, go ahead and move to business. Now Power BI is another great example, right? I know I went ahead and needed this, move to, oops, wrong one, Power BI.
DI. Yeah.
Yeah, move it. So anyway, you get it. You come over here,
Yeah.
move to business. Now there's decisions which your company will also have to make. Because I said Microsoft versus non-Microsoft, but I have had discussions with people where they said that I know it's not Microsoft, but Salesforce is like into everything. So that's a decision that your company needs to make. Because Salesforce, I know it's not Microsoft, but if it's plugged into everything, then maybe move that into the business one over there. So that decision you have to make as a company, and as an admin over there. But this concept is pretty neat. Now you can go ahead and say there's Twitter. Now I don't want people to have access to take all my CDS or SharePoint stuff and post it into social media. well, then this is a
Mm-hmm.
good example to go ahead and block it. Now people will come back and say, hey, Daniel, I got a communications department. They
Yeah.
use Power Automate and Power Automate flows to publish this into social media, and it is a legitimate need. I said, that's fine. Create a separate environment for them and do a policy just for that environment, which allows Twitter and your data source to have that access over there. And so that I know that there are reasons for that, and those are legit reasons. The concept for that is just create another business logic rule for that, for a very specific environment, and I'll show you that. And that way that works as well. So it's not a not a all for one kind of a situation. So then this is an example. So I do that. I come over here, and this is what I was meaning is that this scope that I set up, I'm going to set this as a very high level scope. That KISS method over there. So I'm going to do that for all environments. However, if there is a situation for that communications department posting on social media, then go ahead and just create a very simple logic that CDS and Twitter are in the same business category. Set that up as a very small scope, and then put that as an excluded certain environments one, or sorry, add only in a multiple environments kind of a situation, and just select that one environment. So you can do that, and it completely works. So this is it. It's very simple policy. Literally, I mean, I did it while I was talking. While you just do it, it'll take 15 minutes or less. But it's so important. So it's important that this is on the top of the list, because you got to do this, and then you just analyze which of those 300 and plus some connectors that you need, and you can do that. So that was the first one and the most important one. I put it on the top of the list, is the whole concept of creating these policies. So we're gonna switch back, and I gotta come in. Let's go fast. I didn't even select. All right. Keep going. All right, so we did the DLP KISS method, and that was all great. All right. Now, access to create environments. Now, this is an important thing, because there's a couple of type of environments which I'll talk about over there. But you need to decide who all are going to have access to these environments, because by default, there are three types of admins who can already do this. There is something called as the global admins, and these are Office 365 global admins. The Dynamics 365 admins and the Power Platform admins have this access. Then there's also different types of environments. And see this little information that I put over there. There's actually, people don't know this, but there is 6 types of environments. People are like, no, I did not know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 6 type of environments, and I know some of the names got cut off over there, but there's actually the default, which we all know is there. There's production, sandbox, and trial. We all know. There is developer, but if for some reason you had a problem in your environment, and you put in a ticket, the people on the ticketing side can actually take the environment which has a problem, and they make a copy of it, and they call that as the support environment. That support environment is something only the ticketing people, the technical Microsoft troubleshooting people can do that. We cannot build a support environment, but nonetheless, you will actually see that. I've firsthand experienced this. Put in a ticket, and they take a snapshot of the environment, which is the troublemaker, and its name becomes the support environment over there. So everybody at least knows 5 of them, but in reality, there's actually 6 different types of environments. So if you did not know that, that is a little tool information that I showed over here. So the access to create environments, all right? Let's go ahead and actually look at that. So here, I'm going to come back in, and we're going to go back into our Power Platform side over here in the admin. Let me actually switch to a different tenant as which one is this? Yeah, this is a good one. So I come over here now into the Power Apps side. I go again back into the admin center. And then in the admin center, once you get to the admin center, don't do anything. Just go straight up to the top right, and then you click on Power Platform Settings. And this, actually by default, you will see this setting over here. In fact, in my other tenant, you would see that this is the default. By default, in the Power Platform settings, everyone can create production environments, and everyone can create trial environments. So when you come again back over here, you go to the environments, settings. Don't click on any of the environments, because that can confuse things. Just come here, go to Power Platform settings, and this is the default. I mean, right now, if you haven't ever done this, this is what you will see. Now, again, here's the decision that you have to make. Things which I recommend is that only this admins should be making production environments. The big thing for this is not that you don't trust them, but it is monitoring the capacity of your tenant. If people come in and start building test apps in a production type of a tenant, it is going to really consume your capacity. Or then we'll talk a little bit on the capacity side. Now this one, I personally in my tenants, I'm very comfortable with it, and the only reason is because trial environments end in 30 days, end of
Yeah.
the month. They just end in 30 days. So I personally am very comfortable with this. But if you, because of some kind of rules and regulations, it says no, and only the admins have that authority, then go for it. Even for the trial ones, you can go ahead and make that only specific admins. But it's important that by default, everybody has access to do pretty much production environments and trial environments. Something that I promote is for production, yeah, only the admins need to do that. For the trial ones, yeah, you can cut your makers some slack and say, yeah, trial, let them make a trial environment, because hey, I've already set up the DLP, so there's really nothing they can break, or they can,
Yeah.
something can go wrong, and then all said and done, after 30 days, it will be deleted. So that's completely up to you. But that's kind of a important thing over there. Um, Coming back to the concept over here is it is so important for that capacity is because when you come and start allowing people to make production apps, you come over here in the analytics again. You got to be the Power Platform admin. Capacity, this will start getting filled up, and you see mine's a great example because I'm already filling up on my capacity.
Capacity.
uh,
Capacity. Yeah.
by default, you get, for each of your tenant and everything, you get 10 gigs. And so by default, for every environment you use up, at least, you get 10 gigs for the database. You get, I think, some for the, you get logs, you get file. So you get a good chunk from the beginning. But it is, as an admin, you got to monitor that and make sure that it doesn't get all consumed and everything. So that the capacity is a very important thing. And I kind of very concerned more about the capacity than about mischievous, threatening attitude, or threatening situations. Because why? You've already done taking care of that from the DLP side. So this is kind of a more important thing. All right, security groups and security roles. So the important thing on the security groups and the security role side is, um, of what the people can and cannot access. So let's actually focus a little bit on the security groups, because one of the first times I did this sessions, I actually broke them down as two separate things: security group as one and security roles. But then I'm combining them into same things, is because it depends on the data source. So let me tell you what that means. CDS heavily references these security roles. For CDS entities, you have to use the CDS roles, but then for everything else like SharePoint or say even SQL, you can use the security groups for that. And then just to be clear, it is Office 365 security groups. And these are the things that you can do. You can set it up at an environment level. You can also set it up at an app level. So that's like double security. Only specific people who are part of this Office 365 group can access this environment. And then in that environment, only people who are part of a security group can access this app over there. And when you're doing stuff like this, for especially the admins, you want to be careful when you make it too granular, because you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. What that means is that it's going to slow you down. I'll give you an example of how for one energy company, I had to assist them with something like that, and give them, and that app was a very useful app over there. But what happened was, when the time came to start making changes to the app, more entities had to be added. So then we had to ping the Power Platform admin person, who, by the way, I trained, and I had to tell that person is that, hey, man, can you just go in and make sure that that rule, that security role, also applies to this one entity over there. So did that, I started working. Few days later, another entity had to be created. Actually, one entity was deleted, it was recreated, had to call the Power Platform admin over there. So you can make it very granular, and that's great. Like if you're one of those companies which you have to abide by this policy, go ahead and do it. But it's going to slow you down, both the maker and the admin. So let me kind of show you a little bit about that really quickly. So I'll come over here, and I'll let's do an example first. So I'll come into the Power Platform area, and I'll pick one of the environments. Right. So in one of the environments, I come in and I go to these settings over here. Actually, it's not the settings. Come back. We'll actually be using that for the other permission side. So let me get out and come back again. So right here, I've come in just for that, and I click on edit. So in the edit, this is where you apply your security group. Now I want to pause over here and show you um, what this means over here. So I mean, this is a Office 365 security group, and the people who are in that security group have access to this environment. Now, two things I want to tell you over here. First is because I've created this on an Office 365 level, it is helpful to put that Power Apps prefix because over there's going to be, several security groups. And if you put that prefix or postfix, then you know that, oh, that security group has got something to do with Power Apps. And then after that, whatever naming conventions. So that's kind of a helpful tidbit over there. But the other common misunderstanding I've heard people say is that, hey, I've got access to the security group. But I can't. I've got access to the security group. That group is for this environment. When I come log into the Power Apps, I don't see that environment. So the first misconception is that if you've got access to that group, but until and unless you've got an app in that environment to which you have access, only then will you have access to the environment. So if that environment is blank, and there is nothing in there, even though you've got this access level, you're not going to see that environment. You actually have to have an app in there to see that. And that's how the permissions and all the backend stuff that happens in the Power App side. But it's something that you want to keep access to that, and therefore there's other permissions level which needs to be elevated so that you can go in and actually access the environment, start making apps as well. That's kind of a separate thing, and to understand more into that, that's actually a separate session altogether of how deep permissions work. But the common questions that get asked is that, hey, I've got access, my app is over there in that environment. I've been given, I'm part of that group which has access to that environment. I don't even see that environment show up over here. Something's wrong. I say, yeah, it's actually more than likely that you don't have access to any of the apps over there, and that usually fixes that thing. The other thing I want to show is when I come over here, this is a new thing that just showed up not too long ago, and that was the the refresh cadence over here.
Cadence, yeah.
There is moderate and there is frequent. So what moderate means is that basically what this means is any of these new updates which are released, new features and new functionalities, you can either go down to a moderate level or you can go down to a frequent level. Frequent is when the update is out, after if it has reached the environment level, it gets pushed out to your environment like immediately when it's available. Moderate means that it can be pushed out in regular intervals, usually about once a month or every once other months. You will have to read up more on your tenant over there. But this is a new feature that came out, and as you can see, I already went there and put that into moderate over there because as an admin, all said and done, I need as much time as I can to just get myself familiar with all these new things that are coming out and how does it affect my environment over there. And so this is new. I mean, I just noticed this a few weeks ago. So if you log into your tenant, you decide. Production ones, maybe moderate is not a bad idea. For your sandbox ones, yeah, switch them over to frequent so you can see all these new things coming over there. But this is that new cool thing that came out over here. All right. Okay, and then so the Office 365 groups. One last thing I want to call out is that again and again I hear the product groups say that yes, you can create the Office 365 security group at the Office 365 admin center over there, but they keep referring to it again and again is do it on the Azure side. So yes, you can go ahead and come over here on the groups on your Office 365 admin center over here. You can go ahead and go to groups, and then in groups, you can go ahead and create a new security group. So that's important. Don't create any other type of group. It's a security group that is to be created. That again and again, I hear them saying that this term, they say Azure Security Group. So what they want you to basically do is go into your Azure portal, come over here, go into the Active Directory side and create your security group over there. Now, when you create a security group over there, it automatically shows up an Office 365 group. But there's some magic that happens, which I guess makes the group a little bit more better functioning or something. I really haven't put my finger on that yet, and I'm hoping to understand a little bit more. But since the product group have said it, I immediately accept it. And so this is what I've been doing as well. Is anytime I have to create a security group which is going to be used over there, I come into my Azure Active Directory. And over here is where I go ahead and create my group. Very importantly, this is where I go ahead and, come up with the naming convention that I have, which I said, the Power App. So you see, this is basically that example. This is actually a fantastic example because when I come in and look at all my groups, I know for sure that, oh, these two have got something to do with Power Apps. Why? Because of that naming convention.
Convention.
So yeah, so that's just a little tidbit. Again, I know these tidbits that I give you is not because I'm smart. I just made a lot of mistakes. I made so many mistakes that I just learned from these mistakes over here. I guess because you can see these two, I know it's got something to do with the environment. And this one, it's got something to do with an app. So it just from experience and from all the mistakes I've made, I just came up with this naming convention over there. So kind of go with that idea, all right? And let's just do it on the Azure AD side because that's what the product group says. All right, so let's
So,
keep
Christian,
going.
there's a quick question in the chat. What are
Okay.
sandbox environments used for?
Sandbox environments are used for testing. And the beauty of sandbox environments is that you can do that for testing because if that is a good, solid solution that you've built, I mean, an app or a solution that you've built, you can convert a sandbox into a production one. That's why the sandbox environment is so important over there because it is, you create a sandbox one, it does it'll still use some of your capacity, but the difference between sandbox and the trial is that trial cannot be converted into production.
Mm,
Sandbox can. Is actually a simple click over there, convert this into production over there. But then what the beauty of sandbox is that you can tie it down to just the developer or the few developers, the developers and the testers. They are the only ones who see it over there, and it doesn't accumulate all your, I mean, doesn't chew up all your capacity over there. Those are only for the production ones on that side. But the key thing is sandbox environments can be converted into production. The trial ones cannot. So that's the key one. So I've seen that used so many times. Is that I will only see, for these mid-sized large ones, I'll see maybe two three productions. I see tons of sandboxes over there, and that could be tied to just the developer, single developer, whatever. Those, that's the helpful one over there. So kind of lean towards using the sandbox. Trials are just, this new feature came out, let me just try it. Okay, then they do it on the trial because after that, even if you forgot about it, it gets deleted. So don't worry about that. Hopefully that answers that question.
yeah,
All right.
thanks, Chris. You can go on.
Right. So I kind of already told about this know your capacity, because in your capacity, I kind of walked through and I showed you how we can see your capacities over there, the data storage and all of that. It is important for you to know your capacity because you might start noticing that, hey, my data sources are getting filled up over there, or my logging has gone a little crazy over there and things like that. So you need to know your capacity because moment you're starting to get closer to filling up that data storage over there, there's a couple of things you can do. You have the option to buy more storage capacity over there, or you just start working with your, the makers and the builders, because that's where the whole ALM process fits in over there. Is that I'm seeing that you build this brand new app over there, but these three other apps haven't been touched at all ever since that new app was built. So maybe that new app replaced these four apps or three apps. So can we just delete these apps because that's going to fill, empty up a whole bunch of delete capacity. So that kind of how you see that knowing your capacity and emptying some of the use places works with your ALM over there. Okay, option to disable self-service. It helps in maintaining licenses, does not affect DLP over there. So this, the option, so let me back up. What is self-service? Self-service is a new functionality which was introduced where you as the maker can literally pull out the credit card from your wallet and go and buy an environment for yourself. There was a lot of discussions on this topic from both sides of the table. Some people said, you can't do this, stop it. Other people said, no, this is great. This is great. Now the citizen developers do not have to wait for the administrators. They can just go ahead and pull that out, and pull the credit card out and go and buy their own environment. I was actually right in between because I could see both cases as a very promising case. For example, if you work for a company which is a very independent company, but it falls under the umbrella of a bigger company, then each of the bigger companies might just say that I'm going to disable the self-service altogether, and I'm not going to allow a lot of environments. This is all I have out of the box, and that's all I'm going to pay for. Then the smaller sub companies can actually just buy their own environments. In that situation, this is a very legitimate and a very helpful option over there. On the other hand, if you are, again, in one of those energy, healthcare, or financial services type of high regulations and things like that. What Microsoft did is that we also get their requirement over there, and they went ahead and provided a PowerShell service to go ahead and disable that self-service creation option over there. At the end of the day, even if if this is the first time you're just hearing about this and you just say the oh poop word right now,
Yeah.
you if you've got the DLP set up, you're good, because even people go ahead and create new environments, and if you did the all environment selection like I showed you in the first one, there's no way that these people, a new environment can go ahead and jeopardize your data, because
Data.
your DLP takes care of that. See, now you get it why I put DLP on the top of that list over there,
Yeah.
because I'm saving you in so many ways. I see Samuel's laughing over there, but he gets it. He just gets it.
Yeah.
That DLP, Samuel, is going to stay on the top of the list for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, something that important takes all of 15 minutes. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. So yeah, I'm kind of right in between on that self-service. Yes, I see the need from both areas, and the product groups were really generous to give you both options for that. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, Azure Application Insights. Now I've done two really detailed blogs on each of these. And the Application Insights was a new telemetry functionality which was provided back in February of this year. So that's only 3 months away. And what the beauty of this was, in a nutshell, it went ahead and provided functionality to leverage the I mean, Azure monitoring service is already there. And what it
Yeah.
monitoring service is phenomenal, because what it does is, we just always look at a solution or a feature or an app, like an Azure feature over here, or we look at the Power Apps functionality over there. But before these things even get built and come out, they've got all this plumbing on the Azure monitoring services already done. And this is how Azure services, it's able to go ahead and leverage information to pull all this information from Power Apps, which are out of the box reporting services cannot give. But Azure monitoring services has the flexibility to gather more information. So that's basically it. It's part of the Azure monitoring service over there. And this is basically how it works, is that it's able to go ahead, and Azure monitoring service can go ahead and get all that extra information and then make that available to you as alerts, maybe even a Power BI type of a report over there, and gives you all this functionality. So what I want to do is I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of an example on how I can go ahead and pull some of these important informations over there. So let me actually skip out of this one, and should not have closed it. Let me just come back over here. Teach myself how to stop that so I don't come back. I did another wrong thing. Well, we'll leave that as it is for now. Let me try that one more time. That way I can, we'll come back to it. So let me go in and show you first an example, because I want to kind of give you an idea of how important this is. Let me go to that's not my production one. I'm going to go to my production one. And let's take a look at this app, right? So this, it's called as the navigation app over here. I can actually, the app is pretty simple, but one of the things about this app is that it has got lots and lots of screens. So I'll just open the app in the studio, and I'll, I'm not going to explain to you how the app works, but I just want to point out this one thing. It's actually a very empty app. I built this to demonstrate the Azure Insights over here. So when you go to the app, the important thing is you come over here, loading, and you see, first of all, this has got a ton of screens, lots and lots of screens over here. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind as I'm explaining the process. So anyway, I come over here to the apps, I go to my navigation app, and now here out of the box is analytics. So let's take a look at this analytics. All right, I can come over to
So,
analytics.
Christian, quick one.
Yeah.
It looks like we're still stuck on your slide, Rise of a Citizen Administrator. So we are not seeing, if you're showing something, we're not seeing that.
Oh, thank you for calling that out. Let me switch over. Let's go to Teams. How did that switch happen? This is screen number 1. You
Okay.
good now?
Yeah. Yeah. Now we can see it. Yeah.
All right. So what I did was I went first and I opened up this app that I have, and I just showed that this app has a whole bunch of screens. That's basically what I showed. All right.
So,
and that
Chris, before you go on, I've been asked to ask you, Did you deliberately name, the slide, Rise of Citizen Admins because you play Rise of Kingdoms?
No, I do not. I do not. No, it's the I did see somebody talk about like the rise of the is it because the top of the list is always citizen developers, and
Yeah,
I'm not barking on that, but I was like, yeah, I think we need to also rise the citizen administrators
administrators, yeah.
and show the importance of that. So if there is any similarities, I had no intentions. This just came out of that.
Yo, go
So
for it.
yeah, so yeah, that was the example I got. I got a bunch of screens in this app. All right, so I want to kind of focus on that. Is that I got an app, and I got a bunch of screens over here, and now I want to see some analytics. So I came basically to the apps section over here. This was the apps. I selected that, and out of the box there is the analytics piece over here. So you can come to the analytics, and as you can see the Power BI icon over there, which is going. And now, right out of the box, I mean, I didn't have to do any reporting or anything like that. And it gives you usage, performance, locations. And I've actually been hitting this app for the past few days just to get more data. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, if you just think about it, it's telling me about the launch, so how many times the app has been used in the different areas. It also provides filter functionality over here. So initially, all it showed was data, but they've also provided some filters over here. It's telling me that this app is being used directly on Windows, which is basically on the Windows desktop, or it's got an iPhone. Shows me the different versions of it. One thing I did notice was in the locations. The locations is not very accurate. It gives you a much broader spectrum over here. Like it constantly comes and straight tells me I am pulling it from this place, and I am not located over there. So it's that's the only one hiccup that I see, and it's possible that I'm doing something wrong or whatever, but that's the one thing. And then performance is huge, right? It goes up to the last 30 days over there, and it's telling me the screen to load, and this is neat. It says screen to load directly in the app and screen to load without any connections. And if you understand that, what it tells me is that your app loads and the screen of the app loads that fast, but the
Yeah,
data is taking a while to load. So this is a good place for you to even assess that, hey, I got something wrong on my data side over there. And then it also says sessions in length and duration of the sessions again. So it's out of the box is phenomenal. And if you already
yeah,
think that this is wow, then you don't need to even listen to what I'm going to say after that. Don't you just gotta listen. But I wanted to show you out of the box. This is pretty phenomenal as it is. But remember that app that I just showed you over here is that I want analytics right down to the app level. Like this app has got a lot of screens. How is the flow working over there? So what I have to do first, I got to go to Azure, and in Azure there is something called as the application insights. And I just gave you kind of a quick overview of what it is. So I come into Azure, I click on application insights, insights over here. And in application insights, you basically go ahead and create a new insight. And all the there's you got to have the Azure service because you're going to set that subscription up and everything. That's all a separate discussion altogether. But you've already taken care of all of that, and you've already gone ahead and you're creating a new application insight. To create a new app insight, when you're going through all this process over here, and you create a new insight. Let me see which one is my navigation. So I came over here, I created a new insight, and right here, you've got to go ahead and get this instrumentation key. That's actually just
yeah.
the hex key over there. And the Power Apps people have made that so simple that now you just come, you click on the app, and you drop that instrumentation key right there. And the moment you drop it, save it, publish it, you start using that app in about 30 minutes. Sometimes I've seen it as fast as 15 minutes, but in about 30 minutes, you start seeing data coming in over there. All right. And now remember, I've shown you already those three types of data that are available over here. Now let me show you some of the data that we get over here. All right. So I'm coming in now. And one of the things I want to start looking at is just let's look at um, some of the user logs that we have over here, okay? So I've come in, again, this is, for the duration of the last 24 hours, let's just switch that up to the last 7 days. And you see in the last 7 days, some of this information is showing over there. I know some of you who are watching the video saying, nah, This is just like what I just showed. I said, okay, okay, completely valid. I says, okay, but did you see this? The property shows me
Yeah.
the country. It shows me the OS systems over
Yeah.
there. Oh, and by the way, the operating systems actually make sense because it told me something else. It just said, iOS or something. It said desktop, but now it's telling me right down to the iOS level. It's
Yeah.
telling me what is the mobile OS level, Windows 10 on the browser, what I was using. Isn't that cool? And everybody's like, yeah, but that's still not that wow moment. I said, okay, okay, I get it, I get it. Now I want to show you something, and if this will blow your mind, okay, just hold down to your seats because you may fall down. All right, so I'm going to click. These are the top 5 users which have been done. As you can see, most of them have been mobile users and everything. So I'm going to click on them. All right. And now watch what it is. This was actually done on a May 7th, a few days ago. And it tells me that this session started over here and it lasted for 9 seconds. In fact, it lasted for
Oh,
nine
yeah.
seconds and all that. Now watch this. It already gave me some information, location, all of that. But when I click on this, it is already telling me about each of the screens. How, and if I click on each of the screens over here, it tells me what was the actual technical data that was going on in the screens, how long, if there was any IP address associated with that. It tells me how long that person stayed on that screen. It's already pulling that information about that screen name. And so I can click on some other examples as well. This one is a great example. Another app used on the, I mean, another session used by that user with a mobile device over here come in and it's telling me that this is how the user was using it. He or she first went to the home screen. Home screen went after that went into the check-in screen. So it's telling me
Mm,
right down
yeah.
inside the app level
Details. Yeah.
details. Yeah, like checking once the app was open, what is happening? The user first goes to the check-in screen, goes in, the goes into the check-in screen over there, goes in the swag, and then the PGs and so on and so forth. Inside all of this, it's pretty interesting that it went down to this level over there. But let's not just stop here. Okay, I'm going to go now to sessions. Sessions again. It's just a different way to see it. When I go ahead and click on each of them, I can go ahead and see the same thing. So sessions is there, but I want to show you something called as user flows. So I come to the user flows over here. I'm just going to edit that and try to get 12 hours. Let's switch back to like 7 days, create the graph because I want to see a little bit more information. And I watch this.
Yeah.
Just look at it for all of 5 seconds.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Now, do you kind of understand what is going on? Because what it's basically saying is when the session started,
Started.
all
Yeah.
the traffic, and you can tell this the traffic thickness.
Yeah.
Is you
Checking
see that pipeline?
screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Checking
goes straight
screen.
over here.
Swag screen. Yeah.
Then from the home screen, this traffic is very big,
Thick.
which means that
Yeah.
the home screen, majority of the traffic goes into the check-in screen.
Checking screen. Yeah.
Some traffic directly comes over here and they go in and close it. Some
Yeah.
traffic comes here and then they go to the transportation. And so you can tell from a graphical representation of how the traffic is flowing inside that screen. Your out of the box reporting functionality did not
Yeah.
provide that.
Provide
So
this.
this
Yeah.
this is phenomenal. I mean, it is so phenomenal. In fact, I do sessions just on this. And in fact, my YouTube, I have a channel over there. I mean, YouTube, I've walked through the breakdown. If you're interested
Yeah.
in even this, I've walked through the breakdown of getting that token and doing that. But this is phenomenal. And I always, have a big appreciation for Microsoft and especially in the product group is because before I mean just imagine to get all this data there is so much plumbing work there's so much
Yeah.
below the below the app level that it is doing because how is Azure service well first of all how is this data getting collected I mean it's getting collected somehow
Exactly.
right and then
Yeah.
it is getting stored in Power Apps somewhere in the Azure data lake or somewhere it's getting stored probably CDS and then how is Insights talking to this and gathering all this data and all that there's so much plumbing work that has been done to get all this, and now we have through Azure Insights get this level of information. I mean, this is phenomenal. This is cutting edge. And now for citizen developers, for those enterprise level apps, say you have a very important screen that you want people to go to that screen to see something or add some data or something, but you are noticing that, hey, that screen is not even being hit
Big,
very often
yeah,
because I can just tell from the traffic.
yeah.
So now, based on this information, you can know that users are mostly going to this screen
Interested
or
in,
that level.
yeah.
You can
Yeah.
take that important information and put it over there. It really helps you to analyze how your traffic moves over there. So that's kind of very important over here. The next slide over there is actually going to be on the Azure's work over there. It's called as the Azure um, um, Privileged Identity Management, or PIM. So we'll kind of briefly touch on that as well over here. It's another Azure thing. So it's part of the Azure AD Privileged Identity Management, and that helps from an administrative standpoint because I just showed you how you can control permissions using Office 365 groups, how you can control permissions using security groups, right down to the maker level. But for those enterprise level companies who want break glass level access for the admin privileges,
Yeah.
you can use PIM. What PIM does is basically is you take a group of people, and then you say that, hey, I know that these are the people who are already assigned and I'll just quickly search for Power, assigned for the Power Platform administrators. So when I
Okay.
come over here and I look at which are the eligible roles, I see there's two users who are already eligible. I've gone ahead and made them eligible, which means I've gone ahead and given them that pre-approval that, hey, Gabriel and Elijah are the two are eligible people who are Power Platform admin, but they just don't have that access all the time. If they do, they come in basically over here. They come in there and this is I'm going to get my requests, and then I'll basically in the request they go ahead and submit that request, and then then you can also go ahead and set up saying that, okay, should I just give these people 4 hours immediate access, and you can go all the way up to 8 hours a day, and then it's almost immediate. The moment either one of the eligible people come and submit that request, all they have to do, and that's a very important thing, is they got to log off, sign out from the browser. And the moment they sign back in, they will immediately have the Power Platform admin role over there. And that is this concept of privileged identity management is not new. That's been there for a while. I know Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, all of these people have been using it for a long time. This is available for pretty much every role that's there for for Office 365. And Power Apps has the Power Platform admin role, and you can do that same thing. Now, this might not interest you anything, as much, and that's fine. But it's those, top people like Microsoft themselves. They use break glass access. They don't everybody in Microsoft engineers don't have access to all the systems. They
Yep.
use break glass access, and large enterprise companies do that as well. Is their engineers don't always have persistent access. They have break glass access. And now for those companies, Power Platform has the exact. I mean, you have the functionality to use Azure Service PIM to give break glass access over there. All right, so I'm going to go through. Let's me end this slide deck. Okay, come back over here. We went through the. Yep, we went through. So let's jump in over here. Yep, I just went through all of that. Came back again.
Yeah.
3. No air capacity option, self-service, Azure. Yep, again, what is implied? We did all that. I even showed the Azure Application Insights. We went through all of that. Requirements. Actually, that's a good place. These are the requirements over there. The costing for the Azure services is that one. It's not always based on per user cost. It's based on the logging information over there. And then the PIM one, I went ahead and went through all of that. So I'm going to skip that. Now I want to hit on some of these ones. The last two of them is the free tools every admin must have, and that is these ones over here. So admin analytics, I already showed you about that. There's other ones there's Power Automate flows which are already there, and there's the ones for Power Automate and Power Apps over there. So if you go into Power Automate and you search for admin, there you'll see a whole bunch of flows that are available, which is basically just keeping a check to see if any new environments are set up, any new apps are set up, and they send out alerting systems. That's again an out-of-the-box tool that is available, and you can go ahead and use that. The XRM is actually another fascinating tool that's available. What it does is I'll come back to that if I have more time, is it's got a free tool for administrative privileges. One of my favorite things in that XRM toolbox was, first of all, it's free, so you can download that and use it. It's been there for a while. It was there from the Dynamics 365 admin side. and they've
Oh,
added
okay.
the Power Platform functionality to that as well. One of the personal things I like about that is I can go in and look at from each environment level those security roles. When I click on that security role, in one screen I can see what are the actual accesses and access level each of the security level has, who are the users over there, and right when I'm seeing it, I can tweak those security roles and I can add and remove people right in that one tool over there. So it's pretty neat. Center of Excellence is one of my personal favorites. In fact, I like it now more than I ever did because in the first one there was a excuse me, there were a few bugs over there, mostly on creating of the CDS entities. But they went ahead and fixed that, and they got lots of feedback from people, and they really went ahead and tweaked it. So I'll show you an example of this. This is basically the CDS over here, and the Power BI report. So you come, I want to show you some really important things over here. In the app itself, it is showing you how many environments you have, and you can group based on in those environments, the top 20 environments, how many flows it has, how many apps it has. It's basically doing a full check of showing at the app level or at the flow level of all this information. How many apps do I have in this environment? What are the top environments for these top apps over here? Their locations and so on and so forth. It even not only shows things about who the how many apps there are, but it also helps you understand who these makers are, because this will really help you understand your champions, and I'll come to the champions in a minute. But who are the most prominent and the most number of app makers, because you want to go ahead and talk to them and
Yeah.
have some discussions. But this entire solution, the COE, Center of Excellence, was actually built as a collaboration from the Power Apps. Um, I lost their name, but the Power Apps people over there, and some MVPs
MVP.
together. They went ahead
Yes.
and did that over here, and they built that together, and it's really efficient. And it's free, so you can go ahead and download it. It's a full package deal. It's very interesting. There's actually a video available on that as well. So if you actually go in, I think I have. Yep, right there. There's a link to it. If you just go ahead and search for what is Center of Excellence, this is the new updated page that they've actually gone ahead and provided over here. A full, documentation has been provided, which was not there before. As you can see, it was only built in April. And here is where you can go ahead and understand how it works, get the admin functionality. There's a video about that, and you can just go ahead and download the whole thing over there. So that's pretty neat over there. The PowerShell scripts again. Was there a question?
No, 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 no. I was just saying awesome.
Yeah. The PowerShell scripts is a great functionality to go ahead and do a lot of administration work from the PowerShell standpoint. If you just go ahead and Bing for Power Platform PowerShell, you have to download the module for it. And then the great thing about that is anything that you have to do in bulk, go
Yeah.
ahead and change permissions to environments, changes things or add things in bulk. PowerShell is the way to do it.
Okay.
This was actually a request that had come in over a year and a half ago. So this has been there for a while. And then there's already some great videos. Daniel Levesque has done a great video on how to go ahead and use the PowerShell scripts on that. So you can kind of walk through that. All right, training is a very important thing. And I kind of already mentioned that at the beginning, that if you're going to be a Power Platform admin, there's a lot of self-paced trainings. And as of not last MBAS, but the one before that, that was the first time they introduced the admin in a day training.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that you go and do that. It's a self-paced training, so you can go ahead and download that and test it. One of the things I liked about that admin in the day training is they've already factored in a situation where you're a fresh admin, but hey,
Admin. Yeah.
but there's already apps and everything running over there. So what do you do? Because you just got promoted to be a Power Platform admin. They threw that responsibility on you. Now what do we do? Because there's already apps and everything running over there. So that admin in the day is very realistic training, because they're telling you that this is a real world scenario. There are apps already out there. How do you go ahead and be an admin for that? So that self-paced training is fantastic. And then last but definitely not the least is reward the champions. So that the COE that I showed you, the Center of Excellence, it showed you
Yeah.
who
The
are those
makers.
big, exactly, who those big flow makers are, and who are those big Power App makers are. Those are your champions. And like I showed you, those examples, like when you're going to be a Power Platform admin, you've got certain responsibilities. And in one of those companies where, if you're going to have such granular level permissions, there's going to be a lot of work involved for you. So you want to come up with some best practices. That's one thing. Coming up with best practices is one thing, but then making sure everybody abides and follows those best practices, these champions can help you with that.
True
Because
that.
the champions are the ones you go and see, hey, these people have been very efficient with building the apps. They're following the best practices. So first thing you want to do is I want to reward them. Go ahead and find out these champions are and go ahead and award them, nominate them, advertise and brag about them that these are really good things. And then tell the champions also is that why don't you come up with your own, internal social media such as Teams or Yammers,
Yeah, man.
do
Yeah.
like a 30-minute or a once a week, 1 hour once a week discussion of people coming in and saying that I'm either stuck over here, I want to build this app, how do I build it, and they can share some great insights over there. Definitely honor and encourage them. Send them to MBAS or send them to
Yeah.
any of these trainings and workshops over there. In fact, I know a few of these champions also became MVPs, so maybe there's then that is future over there. But they are very important because they will help you promote Power Apps internally, but they will also help you promote Power Apps with the correct processes and procedures, and encourage them to be talkative on internal social medias, Yammer and Teams being all of those. So all in all, I know I spoke a lot, but these were the top 10 things that I wanted to talk about. Was that we hit all of them as an overview, right? We went ahead and hit technical stuff. We went ahead and hit permission stuff. Some of the governance and compliances over there. We went ahead and hit in tools which are available inside Power Platform, tools that are available outside Power Platform. We went and talked about above Power Platform, how you can use Azure services over there. And then finally, from a relationship and a community standpoint of how you can find who are those makers and let them help you by promoting the best processes and procedures over there, and really taking your Power Platform to the next level over there. So I know I went and spoke a whole lot. So is there any questions, Samuel, that I need to answer?
Uh, no. So the only question that really came up was about the sandbox that we sorted out. But um, that was quite insightful. Let's leave your. Can you switch back to just you so we
Okay.
can yeah, we can have the two of us having that discussion. Yep, 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 yep.
So let's me share. Get that out there. Yeah, I don't know. How do I do the two of us? It's coming to that screen.
Yeah. Uh, so probably you can do a screen sharing.
Did the screen sharing and oh, maybe I stopped the screen sharing. Let me do that. Let me
Yeah.
stop the screen sharing. Yeah.
Mariano said you delivered a whole cathedral. It wasn't top 10.
Thank you. Thank you.
But that was a great session. You covered a lot of the pain points and things that people were hassling about, and the last part about actually drilling down into traffic, into sessions, into the path people are taking into your application. That was like really very very important and really cool. Well, like I mentioned, told you, God of Power Platform Administration. There you go. Heard it, you saw it, you felt it from, Christian. Christian, once again, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you for sharing this. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Like, this is good. People are saying they're going to watch this over and over again to make sure they don't miss anything. They didn't miss anything you said. So that is very, very, very important and very insightful. And as we do it always on the show, we try as much as possible to to kind of like bring up, the next guest on the show so that our viewers can also, have a glimpse into who the next person is. Well, this time we have someone right coming from Ghana. Let me
Oh,
pull that up. Yeah. And I'm going to just for the quick, I'm going to just bring this back to the screen so you can also see this person. So his name is Thomas Kujo. This guy does Power BI visualizations like like nobody's business. Like he does exquisite and amazing Power BI visuals. So next week's episode, watch out for Thomas. He's going to, thrill you to some amazing stuff. But Christian, you're the man of the day. Thank you for sharing this. People are rolling. People are going to try to, spin sandboxes, our dev environment to test all the cool things that you shared. I mean, I had tested, the app insight, and I was like, I was just blown away. So it's something, really cool to try. But we're not done yet. Surely probably going to come back on the show. Same as Mariano. I know we've been talking about some things, Mariano. We are going to figure that thing out, and you're probably going to come back and share how we did that. But Christian, Daniel, sorry. Thank
Yeah,
you
that's fine.
so much. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We love that you shared your time with us, and I'm sure, I mean, people picked up your social media handle, so if they're questioning anything, they're going to reach out to you. And thank you for being an awesome community member. Thank you for your awesome work, and we all, seek to learn a lot from you, whether from Christmas lights, all this crazy stuff. We all here to learn a lot from you. Thank you for this
Yep.
opportunity. All
You're
right,
welcome.
folks. So before we go, as you know, I'm gonna switch to our montage, but make a day with me next week for Thomas's appearance. Don't forget Tuesdays, IoT Tuesdays, some cool stuff. Well, like you see, Daniel himself does some, lighting and IoT crazy stuff. So it's not just it's in the blood.
Yeah.
So this is a very funny one. Mariana says that my wife is going to leave me for committing my Sundays to you. I think, how about, think about this, Mariana. How about we give the wives their own channel, to talk about how they cope with husbands in tech. I think that's going to be like an interesting conversation. How, our spouses deal with us, when we are, out doing all these things. When it's probably supposed to be spending time with them and the kids and all that. But I think it's something we're going to discuss. Safe. All right, folks. So we'll come your way again next week. This has been the Power Series. Just through Samala Journey. Stay safe. COVID is real. Let's, try to blow this away and, reunite when everything is all done and continue to have fun. Love you guys.